Today's episode of Outreach Asia is brought to you by Spaces. Spaces offers creative working environments with a unique entrepreneurial spirit. Visit spacesworks.com. And London Institute of Business and Technology. LIBT makes executive education accessible and affordable to everyone. Visit libt.co.uk.
Okay, this is an episode you don't want to miss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm your host, Sesiri Pathirane, and this is an episode you're gonna like. This is an episode definitely you're gonna like. We're gonna be talking about Bitcoin. We're gonna be talking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. You know, sometime back in 2009, a guy by the name Satoshi Nakamoto puts out a white paper. And this was during the recession, puts out a white paper, and all of a sudden, there's this massive following, there's this massive community that is building around this digital currency. And you know, some people say it's the biggest pump and dump scheme of all time, but some people say it's gonna revolutionize the industry for many more years to come. So I have a guest here today to talk about cryptos, Bitcoin, blockchain, you name it. And he's here, and he's a founder of a company called Anything. Mm-hmm. And with that said, let me introduce to you my guest, Louis. I can call you Louis, right?
Please do. So nice to meet you.
Pleasure to have you on the program. Tell me a little bit about Anything. Tell me a little bit about, before we get to all of this crypto and blockchain and all that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the startup. Let's talk about the company.
Okay, so comes with a little story, and it was that about 4 years ago I was standing in a clothing store, and I'm a typical guy, right? I'm bad at dressing myself, so I'm standing there and I'm trying on these pants, and I'm thinking to myself, why can't I just get someone to help me with this? Why can't I just go on my phone and talk to someone who's knowledgeable about clothing, video chat, and show him my pants and say, hey, should I buy this, yes or no? How easy would that be? You know, if you can contact to an expert straight away and then ask your questions. Made me think, first I was thinking, okay, so people need help with clothing, but actually more than that, people need to help each other. And we aren't really doing that. You, for example, you have so much knowledge in your head, other people could benefit from. Everyone does. Everyone has all this life experience. But when someone needs you, they have no easy way of accessing you, right? And you have no easy way of monetizing the knowledge that you have in your head. If people need your knowledge, then they always expect you to give it for free. And then they, might take them weeks to really get that information out of you. So what Anything does is we give people the opportunity to say, for example, hi, my name is Louis, or hi, my name is Sesiri, and I am knowledgeable about starting a blockchain company, for example.
Right.
And my price is X per minute, and anything you want to know, you can just contact me straight away, and I'll share my knowledge with you. So this gives you access to doctors, lawyers, gives you access to hobbyists about anything. And essentially it means that we're going to be helping each other and we're going to be paying each other for that time as well.
I see. I'm trying to think of another startup that was very similar, that where you can basically send instead of like you get a lot of emails asking all of these different questions, right? So instead of just writing an email, you get like $1 or $2 out of that. I'm trying to think of the name.
Earn.com. Earn.com just got acquired by Coinbase actually for 120.
Really?
Yeah, 120 million, which is a pretty serious amount. I think Earn.com is awesome.
Yeah.
They have a lot of very knowledgeable people on there. The difference between us two is that the experts on Earn.com, they're not obligated to really answer you. So if they want to answer you, they can, and then you need to pay.
Sure.
So that means that when you need help, you still need to wait days to get that response, potentially.
Right.
And the internet already offers that. But what the internet does not offer yet
even if you go to Quora, for example, you post something.
You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait. And then with anything, the thing is that I need help right now, and I have it right now. Because you just go to search engines like I need help with this, and then poof, you can call with someone. That's the big difference.
So it's are people going to be live, on the app?
That's a good point. So essentially, people set their schedule. For example, I have a job, so I cannot answer phone calls all the time.
Right.
But for example, I can take it these 2 hours a week, or I can take it every evening after 5. And then
so it's basically people are going to be answering phone calls, not just like text chat.
The option is there to video and to call and to chat. So if people are comfortable chatting, they can do that. But if you need help looking at something together, so for example, I'm going through this, I can't figure it out, it's an accounting document or whatever, then I can just call an accountant straight away and say like, hey man, look at this, what do I do? And then the guy will explain it to you. And that's something that doesn't exist yet in the market.
Yes.
So we're excited to introduce that because now the internet at this point in time doesn't have eyes.
Right.
It cannot look at what you're doing. It cannot help you with that. What anything is going to do is going to introduce the human aspect and connect people to solve problems together.
Right. Yeah, it sounds really good. You have the use case.
It's consultancy on the spot.
Consultancy on the spot. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Good. And so you, instead of taking this traditional route, doing a seed round and going to VCs, you kind of decided to take the ICO route.
Correct. Yeah.
And why is that?
I think when I was about 3-4 months into development of the app and getting the team together, I really started to notice that the app kind of needs crypto. So before we even put the crypto component in, we already introduced the component of a second currency. Okay. And a big chunk of the reason for that is that when you launch an app like this, where you can just instantly call someone, that's going to change the way people think and communicate. So you need to give them a couple of runs for free. If they need to pay immediately, they won't do it. Like people are kind of adverse to change. So, but as a startup, you cannot pay for all these things. You cannot pay the experts all the time. So what you do is you give them a point system that they can trade, and then the points have value. But these points didn't have any value outside of the system.
Right.
And that made them quite useless because they didn't have any real value. But if you introduce a crypto, then they can take the crypto outside of the system and then exchange it for real cash.
For real cash. Oh,
yes, correct.
Is it? I'm trying to think. Oh, Simple Token. Jason Goldberg's Simple Token. So what they're doing is they have an ecosystem where you can develop branded tokens. So you basically take the Simple Token and you can rename it to whatever you want and put it out. So is that so? You're gonna have your own coin, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is a ERC20 token.
Yeah. So we're using ERC223.
223. Okay.
Which is a faster ERC20. It's cheaper.
What exactly is the difference between, for somebody who doesn't know about ERC tokens, can you explain what ERC tokens are?
Okay, so ERC20 tokens are essentially like a coin that you can build on the Ethereum platform. Okay. So Ethereum is a crypto platform, kind of like the soil. And companies who want to do something with that soil to create their own token of value, they can make a little plant, which then flowers, and this is essentially this token. So if you want to use this token, you need to Ethereum to go with it. Right. And then the token can be used to attach value to it. So either you can put it as a utility token, you can put it inside your own software or infrastructure marketplace. People can use it as means of payment, or you can attach equity to it. So people own part of your company, you can sell it like that. Or you can back it with an asset, or there's many other ways that you can construct your tokens to give them value.
Right.
And companies are doing that as a means to raise money and to involve people in their project.
And the thing about ICOs is that, well, in a way it's crowdsourced, right? I mean, you kind of, in a way people own a part of the, people own some equity of the company, of the ecosystem. Not the company, how would I put this?
Equity isn't really the right word because that means that they have ownership of something, but it's possible if the token says you buy this token and there's equity attached to it.
Is that the case
in my case? No, that's not the case, because essentially what my coin does is you can use my coin as a means to pay the expert.
Okay.
Right? So essentially that means if you participate in my ICO, I'm selling you phone credit at a massive discount.
Yeah.
Because you can use it to call experts, call people, whatever.
Right.
So in my case, there's no equity, it's just a currency.
Okay. And so the concern that a lot of people have is the volatility of these coins. Right? So if you're getting paid in US dollars or any other fiat currency, you know what you're going to be paid by providing a service to somebody. So what if the prices go up and down all the time, and how would they? Is there any way you're going to be de-risking that?
Okay, so it's a good question, and yes, we are de-risking that. It's part of the nature of these tokens that they go up and down because there's speculation involved. Right. So the market, they likes it, they buy, and they don't like it, they sell. Some of the things that you can do to stabilize, that we do as well, is that you apply a method where whenever we take a commission, we burn part of the token. So essentially that means we destroy the tokens when we get it, a small amount every time we get it. So what that does is that it reduces the supply. Right? So demand remains equal, let's take that scenario, but then supply decreases. So that means that actually demand goes higher in relationship to the supply. So that means that at least you kind of create this mechanism where the price goes up, because essentially you don't want price to go down, but up is always good. That's kind of how it works. But to make it more stable, what you can do is you can, what we did essentially is we recognized the risk there, and we also introduced the use of fiat on our platform, traditional money. Thing is, if you don't do that and you just have one currency and it fluctuates down, that can create serious issues for your platform. So what you need to do is you need to give people the safety and the comfort that they can know that they can just cash out. It's like, okay, I've accepted the token from this buyer of my information, so now I turn it into cash. Move done, yay, awesome. Or just accept the money in fiat, and then that way you've created the system that everyone still wants to use.
Sure. How does Tether? How do they do it? How do they Tether USDT? That doesn't change, right? I mean, it's a crypto, essentially.
And it's tethered to USD, or?
Yeah, I mean that pretty much stays $1.
Okay. So what they say they do is that one token is attached to one real dollar in real life. And because the US dollar is consistently stable, that the token is attached to that. So that means
does that really happen? Like
these tokens aren't really used that much because people like the speculating aspect. So that's the truth of it. I mean, a lot of the ICO market, and not just the ICO but the crypto market, is the fact that there's so many quick gains to be made now, and that excites people. Last December, everyone was like, "Oh, crypto is going to make us rich!" You're like, "Whee!" People start buying massively. And these stable tokens, they don't have that inviting aspect. So, and then if it's not exciting to trade them, then they don't get much market traction, and that makes them less attractive to use and accept as a means of payment than things like Ether or Litecoin or Bitcoin.
Now, Litecoin started LitePay a few months ago, and they kind of shut it down, I think. Do you know what exactly happened? I know they did start a huge Twitter campaign, hashtag Pay with Litecoin. But that did pick up, but that didn't work out.
No, it was dropped, but to be honest, I can't really remember for which reason. I remember the community being quite upset about it, but but I don't really remember why.
So one one question one might ask is now, it's decentralized, digital. All of these are good, but there's no real use case in any of these currencies, one might say. Would you agree or disagree?
Certainly not. There's lots of use cases for them. I mean, okay, coming back to anything app,
Right.
That's a use case there. And the reason is that my app would be very difficult for it to exist without crypto because it involves a lot of micropayments.
Right.
Well, good luck doing micropayments with traditional money. It's not happening. It's simply not happening. It's way too expensive. If you have to go to all the middlemen, like Visa, you need to pay 30 cents plus 3% for every transaction.
Yeah.
That could be more than the actual micropayment.
Yeah.
And with crypto, these things, they can vanish. Depending on the crypto, it can be completely free, or with Bitcoin it's more expensive. Ethereum is kind of in the middle. But that itself is a massive user case, how easy it is now to send money to someone on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
A matter of minutes,
Yeah.
and relatively free,
And
regardless of the amount.
I just saw like a few days ago where somebody has wired, I think several $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, and the transaction fee was 40 cents.
Yeah, fantastic.
And that's just
Isn't that
ridiculous.
awesome? No, I think that's amazing. It's exactly what you say. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's completely and utterly revolutionary kind of.
Yeah.
I think a company that does this very well, that's not in the crypto scene, is TransferWise. And TransferWise, and you can send your fiat through them, and then it's a lot cheaper than going through your normal bank. So they cut costs by 75%, and they have been fighting to make those numbers. That's not been easy for them, and it's a massive achievement, massive achievement. And but crypto just kind of destroys fees in general.
Yeah, and I think there was a time where all the banks and all these financial companies were very against it, and then they kind of, I guess, figured out like, oh, this is not going away, and now everybody's like on board and they're experimenting with all these different things, and I think XRP is being used, for example, with multiple players like MoneyGram, Western Union for transaction settlements. Yeah, so I think, it has come to a point where everybody's on board now, and my guess is that there'll be a lot of things that are coming out very soon, and after the all-time highs in January, then it crashed all the way down to like 6,000 a few weeks ago, right? If you take Bitcoin, for example. Now it's uptrending.
Yeah.
What do you think? Well, I mean, I want to know your thoughts on that.
There's
Where do you
there's
think it's
an
gonna go?
undeniable amount of new money flowing in now
Yes.
and very soon.
Yes.
And that means that demand's going up.
Yeah.
So, like you said, people have been waiting for this new upper in the market after the crash of January. People have been sitting in anticipation, and everyone's been thinking, okay, if it goes back up now, I'm in.
Yeah.
Because it means it's here to stay. And it's not only speculative investors, it's also institutions, it's even governments, countries are changing their rules. And I think this boom potentially is going to dwarf the previous one. It's very possible.
Yeah. And for somebody, who's watching this right now, for somebody who's very near to cryptocurrencies, right? How would you explain a cryptocurrency and a blockchain?
To someone who's not familiar with it?
Who's not familiar with it? Someone who's really, really near to this.
Okay. So
I want to hear your version of it.
sure. So then I think it's best maybe to start with the blockchain.
Sure.
And a blockchain you should kind of see as, how do you say it? It almost functions like a new sort of internet. It's a ledger that you can store information on. So what people do is they have a lot of computers all over the world, in layman's terms. And all these people, they connect with each other. And then through that connection, they make a network. Right? And because there's so many computers and hubs involved, it's very big. It makes it difficult to attack. Right? So that means that they can all monitor when a little change has been made.
Right.
That means that if someone hacks it and makes a little change, the whole rest of the network sees that and goes like, hey, that's not legit, and immediately restores it back to the way it was. And that means that a blockchain is essentially a massive network, a decentralized network, where you can store information on that is extremely difficult to alter. So that makes the blockchain very safe. in terms of trustworthiness of the data that's on there. Because essentially that means that if it's on the blockchain is large enough, you can kind of assume it's legit. And that's something that's not really happening right now because information is centralized. People say, hey, this banana was fair trade.
Right.
But how do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they could have just changed that, like one sentence in a computer, proof is done.
Yeah.
If it had been recorded on the blockchain, then for sure you'd know that it had in fact been fair trade because it's impossible to alter the data back. So a blockchain is a massive chain of little hubs, and then little hubs enter and make the chain longer.
Do you fundamentally believe that blockchains are gonna make the world a better place in general? I mean, I know it's a kind of a philosophical question.
I need to think about that for a moment. I'd say no. I think because I think that making the world a better place is something that's not up to technology more. It's more about the mindset of people.
Right.
So it's more of it should be more of a spiritual journey than a technological one. I feel like actually technology can really detract people from what they're supposed to be, which we see a lot now, people just getting inside their phones more and more and make it more difficult for them to communicate with others.
I guess I'm coming from the point where, I mean, if things are decentralized, if they cannot be attacked, if the transactions cannot be fraudulent, would that make things safer?
It would certainly create an economy of trust, and that's very cool. So that means that if trust becomes the new standard in the supermarket,
right?
That means that if you do not publish your products using this blockchain, people won't really trust you anymore.
Right.
So that means that now you need to actually behave like you say you do, because other companies are using blockchain and you aren't, means consumers won't accept you anymore. And that could definitely make the world a better place, because that means that all the companies who say that, hey, I'm using fair trade and blah, 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 they will actually have to.
I think there was one, I forgot where it was, some coffee company, where the data on the coffee that's coming in was on the blockchain. So when you scan the QR code, you can basically see where it was originated, who did it, who was planning it, like all of this data that you had never access to, back in the day. So I mean, in a way, that sense, it kind of makes sense to put this data on a blockchain, right?
I think to me that is one of the bigger user cases.
Right.
Because to me, I feel like that kind of truth is, as a company, one of the most profitable things, and one of the best things about blockchain is just the fact that you can send a message to your people. It's like, hey, we're acting the way we're supposed to. And people like that. If you, as companies need to be more transparent these days, and the market demands it. And being able to have such an easy and nice instrument that people trust, because trust is the blockchain, to be able to have that resource and spread the message that you are doing this, that people respond very positively to that, and that will hopefully push other companies to adopt those same practices.
Right.
And if it will eventually, just like 10 years ago, everyone had to start following green practices and owned by the products anymore. Right. So now maybe that will happen with blockchain too, and that would be a very positive thing.
So in a sense, like in a way, we can say blockchain is gonna make things safer.
I would say so actually. Yeah, sure. I mean, it takes some thinking because there's so much to consider.
Yeah.
Right. But in general, I'd say that it gives a lot of power back to people,
right?
Which is very cool, because now we can communicate and interact with each other without intermediaries that were usually involved before.
Yeah.
And I'd say that in general, most of the people are actually very happy, positive people.
Yeah.
And majority is the rule in blockchain.
Yeah.
So that means that it's going to be extremely difficult for the fraudulent ones to have a negative influence.
Now, for guys that are watching now, when we say blockchain, there's all of these different kinds of blockchains, right? So can you explain a little bit about that for somebody who's not familiar with it?
So that kind of comes down to what I
said
before.
Bitcoin blockchain, we call it the Nakamoto blockchain. Is that what you
Well, I mean, for me, I just see a blockchain as that network of computers or nodes or whatever.
Right.
So that means that you have one that runs on Ethereum, you have one that runs on Bitcoin, you have Neo, and so on and so forth. So, and then all these platforms themselves, they try to incentivize people to make them join their platform, make it bigger, make it even more trustworthy.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then, but these platforms are being built in different times. I mean, Bitcoin is quite old, which is cool because it was the first one, and now it's the ultimate collector's item.
So we've heard a lot of stories where these blockchains have been attacked, and sometimes they fork, right? How does that happen?
I think it comes to usually due to inherent weaknesses inside the blockchain. So it's not necessarily that one computer had its data altered. It's just that in the platform itself there was a little kink that had to be worked out. And it has to do with usually a line of code that's upside down. It's a silly thing like that that could happen everywhere. But it might mean that in order to move the whole platform forward, essentially you have to create a new platform. So you take it, you kind of copy it, you change the negative bits, and then poof, you're done. It is uncommon in the ways of the larger players, though some examples like from Ethereum to the new Ethereum, and then you have the previous Ethereum Classic, but also Bitcoin Cash and these other forks. It's always an improvement.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been following Bitcoin Cash, and there's a massive propaganda war in a way, within the crypto community with BTC and Bitcoin Cash, right? Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and Roger Ver calls it, calls Bitcoin Core, and he's claiming Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. What do you think? I mean, is it in a way? And interestingly, he owns Bitcoin.com domain too, right? And few days ago, I'm not sure if you saw this, few days ago, so where it says buy crypto, when you click on that button, when you click on that drop down, it says Bitcoin, within brackets BCH, Bitcoin Core, within brackets BTC. And people will like flip it out. Because,
what's he doing?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have to say I do understand this sentiment, because if you take a look at just society right now, they don't really understand what Bitcoin does yet, what cryptocurrency does. And when they take a look at Bitcoin, what they think is just super fast currency that you can transfer very quickly, super cheaply, and is a payment mechanism essentially. But in reality, it's more of an asset. I mean, it depends on who defines it as what, but it's quite expensive to send around, and it's extremely valuable. Whereas Bitcoin Cash is designed more, as well the word says it, cash. So it's meant as a payment system, and it could reflect more what the general population thinks of Bitcoin than what it actually is. So still, his move of calling it Bitcoin Core, that's quite daring.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a decent amount of supporters behind Bitcoin Cash as well, and some people are trading it because you can make some quick money out of it. But on a philosophical level, I don't know if I like the approach he's taking.
Well, he owns Bitcoin.com, and he's established himself as a thought leader. So it means he's very conscious of how he's using his influence to change the market. And I think that's what rubs people the wrong way, because he knows what he's doing, and he's essentially just hyping up Bitcoin Cash straight up into the stratosphere.
And in a way, like, if you really think about it, it's hurting Bitcoin also, right? Or is it?
I think a lot of people who hold Bitcoin know what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
So I think people understand the value. The holders understand the value. I think that maybe even
I'm talking about when he calls Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin. Doesn't it, like, all these new guys that are coming into the ecosystem? I mean, they're confused.
No, they're exactly. He's confusing people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like it.
I don't like that too, because it's absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin are two different things.
Exactly.
And why do you have to replace this old Bitcoin with Bitcoin Cash and then call that Bitcoin? Why not just honor the fact that this is Bitcoin Cash, acknowledge Bitcoin for the massive change it has unleashed in our society and give it its throne.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So why do you have to say like no, this is the real Bitcoin, and actually the original, the Godfather, is actually shitty. It's not a proper thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Who did you think? So there's there are a lot of stories about this, but some people say Bitcoin was created by a couple of companies together. What do you think really happened?
Sorry, I don't have any thoughts on that. There's rumors everywhere, and I like to think that it was just a visionary.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had any idea exactly how big this would be.
Yeah.
It was blown up beyond his expectations. But whoever he is, I think it's an incredible achievement.
And if you look at other coins like Litecoin, right? Charlie Lee, the kind of approach he's taking into promoting the cryptocurrencies, the whole ecosystem in general is very respectable. I mean, he doesn't really hurt any other brands. And
what are your thoughts on Litecoin?
It's interesting, but I still think it hasn't really had the kind of penetration that it needs to have to be.
No, it's had the major market cap.
Yeah.
But it's never reached. Well, I mean, it has reached epic status. But
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
And maybe it's just a matter of time. We never know, I guess.
Well, if you think about it, it doesn't have that smart contract compatibility. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not a platform in that regard. So then, just being up there as just a solid currency is a massive achievement.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the ICO for anything is coming up next month.
Yeah.
Is it next month? Or?
It's pretty much a month from now.
So the pre-sale is going to be in 30-something days, you said earlier, right?
Yeah. So the pre-sale starts on 28th of May, and right now we're in private pre-sale.
Okay. So what is the difference between the public sale and the private sale?
Okay.
And
so
how would, if anybody needs to participate in a private sale, how would you do that?
Okay. So if people want to participate in a private sale, they'd have to contact me directly now.
Right.
It's not really that open to the public anymore because the private sale allocation has been pretty much distributed.
Right.
So, and the difference between the two is that with the private sale, you use that really to fund your marketing campaign for the public and the main token sale.
Right.
So pre-sale public token sale.
Right.
And that means that generally bonuses are tiny bit higher, but it also means that you take some precautions because people generally buy larger amounts. You need to be super careful that, well, to just put it frankly, they don't have the chance to really sell everything in one time.
Right.
Or you need to protect your ecosystem.
Right.
Whereas with the public pre-sale, you have a multitude of smaller investors.
Right.
And you can give them a decent bonus as well, but you just kind of cap the amount that they're able to buy because you want to give a lot of people the opportunity to join.
Right, right. And so we've heard stories like Tesos raising I think 200-something million, right? Yeah, 200-something million on their ICO, and there have been so many stories where ICOs have raised a lot of money, and the product doesn't work out at the end. So, do you have to do sort of a product market fit on the actual product you're going to be building?
Yeah, of course. It's blockchain companies are companies.
Yeah,
and people don't think about that.
Right.
But it functions like a traditional company.
Right.
Only it introduces a blockchain component, and so many of these blockchain products or ICOs, they are started by people. I don't think they've. No, I shouldn't speak badly about this. But there's a lot of companies who don't really have the passion or really try to make that product.
Right.
Right? So they throw a white paper online and then they'll just say like, okay, let's see how much traction it gets.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll produce the product.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but then if you don't feel bad if you fail.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, even a lot of these crowdsourcing crowdfunding campaigns. I mean, you basically pre-sell the product before you actually make it, right? And that happens in fiat currencies. And so when it's on crypto, everybody's like, oh, you know, like
sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of a double standard in a way, you know, how I say it. And the interesting thing is that ICOs have enabled a lot of people to, instead of going this traditional route where you have to, you know, go around and, you know, look for VCs and you know, it's very traditional, right? And that has enabled a lot of people to build companies. And I think that part of it is pretty interesting.
I think that is the way crypto should be.
Yeah.
It should enable startups and new companies to get the funding they need to really make a kick-ass product, or at least at the bare minimum an MVP.
Right.
So from that point on, they can move forward and get that traditional funding because it is necessary. Actually, the ICO market has changed a lot. You know, last year they were still throwing money at everyone. That's no longer the case.
Yeah.
If you want to run an ICO now, it's actually quite expensive.
Yeah.
And you'll find that you actually need some traditional funding before you start your ICO. So that means that right now, ICOs could be optimized further to enable that kind of innovation.
Right.
And that's what I would like to see.
And so Namal put out CoinVest a few months ago. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
Tell me.
I mean, I'm not super familiar with it either. So basically, you know, if you're an ICO, so they kind of do the due diligence and, you know, making sure, you know, all the founders are good, and they basically put it on CoinVest. And kind of something similar to Angel.
Sure. So essentially, it's a group coming together who invest together, and then the projects are pre-screened.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. Super interesting.
But it happens all over ICOs. It's a massive thing in the community because there's so many projects right now. People don't know what's promising anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like multiple ICOs are being released every day. People don't have the energy or the time or just the desire to go through everything anymore.
Did you raise like a seed round, or are you before you get into the product development side of it? You know,
so actually, we've been talking to business angels a long time ago already with the company, and we were offered. We had very appealing offers, but if you're a pre-revenue company, the dilution is very significant, and that can really hurt the future growth of your company.
Sure.
So that makes you a little bit careful. So in our case, what we've done is that we've come up with a clever structure where we can do it just through the crypto raise.
Run me through the process of, so you haven't listed on any of the exchanges yet, but run me through what that process is like, if you can.
Okay, so what you want to do with exchanges is a few things, because exchanges are very expensive to list on, $50,000 upwards, and can go into millions if you want to list in one of the bigger ones. So it's dependent on the amount of press publicity and hype you have. It brings the price down. So essentially what you want to do is you want to have a bit of press and then list on a smaller exchange.
Right.
And okay, so then you're accepted in that smaller exchange, and that allows you to get bigger press.
Right.
And then that bigger press will positively influence, and you can get a larger exchange. And what also really helps are warm leads. So you want to have advisors who have friends at these exchanges, because that will really give you more opportunity to give your participants in your ICO a nice place to trade and have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
When we get back from this little break, we're going to talk about the regulation behind it, and there's a lot of things, you know, that I don't know if even 1 hour is going to be enough to talk about all of this, but let's see.
Sure.
Right? And so I want to thank our friends here at Spaces. I'm not. You're not a member of Spaces, right?
I'm not. No, I know.
I heard you were planning to come down here. Or?
I really like this place, so I was considering staying here for some time. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's just amazing, and it's just really, really amazing, the kind of work, they do here, and the kind of community that they're trying to build. And startup founders, product people, tech people, from all these different verticals that are coming down, and there's a lot of events happening. And whether you want to have your actual offices, virtual offices, meeting rooms, any of these things, and it's super, super nice and super friendly, and the team here is really amazing. And even when we wanted to look for a space, and we were at Regis for a while, and Regis, I mean, it's the same company. They own spaces as well, but the Regis setup is a bit more corporate-like, right? So it's not kind of like they don't really have the startup kind of a environment vibe into it, right? But when we check this out, I mean, it's just super amazing. And Fred, Lake, everybody down here, I mean, they're super helpful. If you have any problem, like they'll hook you up with anybody, and anything you're gonna do.
I mean, the place has just been open for a few months, and it's mostly booked already.
So
I feel like it speaks volumes. It's,
absolutely.
It's really nice here.
Absolutely. And yeah, I want to thank you guys. I mean, you guys rock. I mean, you guys are really, really nice. And if it wasn't for spaces and also, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Rocket X and Rocket Fuel. I don't know if you've seen this. Yeah, it's a kind of a iced coffee, I think. Is it iced coffee or cold brew? Yeah, and I haven't tried that actually. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for sponsors like Spaces, independent programs like this wouldn't be possible. And so thank you so much, you guys. I mean, you guys really rock. You guys are really, really nice. Yeah, so we were talking about ICOs and regulation. And I mean, it's just, some of these things are in very premature stage still. There's a lot of things that are, talked about back and forth. You guys are down in Sweden,
Netherlands.
Netherlands, right?
Yes.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
And what makes you stationed here in Thailand?
Okay, so I've lived in Thailand for a good number of years, and I understand the market very well. So that helps, and I have decent connections here in the country. So what makes me stay here is, it's funny actually, it's mostly government initiatives. So a couple of years ago, the Thai government decided that they wanted to make Thailand a startup hub.
Right.
And they came up with a few of these programs that make it really super attractive to do a tech startup here.
Absolutely.
So things like really cutting down on the income tax for your company, but also being able to have 100% foreign-owned company. It makes it, within Asia, a very attractive place in terms of quality of labor and just how much it costs.
Yeah. And
for us, it's also important to be in our initial market.
Right.
Because if you launch a product somewhere, you want to be there. Right?
Yeah.
You want to feel it, you want to communicate with everyone. So having that opportunity to be here with the people who will go through this for the first time. Yeah. And by the way, I should make a little note there. The reason that we're launching in Thailand is because Thailand is a fantastic market for the anything app.
Yeah.
So Thai people love being on their phone.
Yeah.
They love talking to other people.
I mean, this has the highest penetration, in any of these digital platforms, I think.
I think so too. On average, it's more than 3 hours a day, and the smartphone penetration is 90% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the same thing with us. I mean, I was here in 2012 for the first time, and there wasn't much activity back then. There wasn't that many co-working spaces. There was one out there, Habba, but now after 6 years, right? It's just crazy.
It's booming.
It's booming.
It's really booming. Yeah.
And people are savvy as well. And the Thai people are really nice. They'll always smile with you. And so even we decided this is where we want to be. And yeah, is that kind of like how it happened for you guys all?
Oh, well, yes and no. I mean, I was working in this country before, and then I stayed here to do the startup here. Well, I didn't immediately incorporate here, so I just started out working here because it's a very attractive place for a startup in terms of cost and everything else.
Yes.
And then the network group, I think.
I see.
It made me wanted to stay here. People were very attracted to this project,
Yeah.
and people started flocking in. And then there was no need for me to move any place else anymore because Europe, America, these are all places that are expensive and too far away from the initial market.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could outsource your development to a country like Vietnam, which is relatively cheaper, but then management cost increases. And also you're not there with your team.
Right.
And that's what you need to have in a startup. I mean, it's not just about the blockchain, it's about developing the most awesome product that you can for your market.
Right.
It really is. So that means that you need to be there in your company because every little detail is important.
I think Tech in Asia, I saw something like Thai startups have raised about 700 something million last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Thai baht?
No, US.
Wow.
USD.
Seriously?
USD,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I'm
700 million
somebody's gonna have to fact check on that. Maybe within the last 5 years, I'm not.
But no, it's I think within the last 5 years, Thai startups have raised now they raise over 1,000% more than they did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing a number out there, but I roughly remember seeing that. And you can understand why that is. It's because the government's promoting it, and Thai people are edging each other on.
Right.
You go to these co-working spaces, and they're full of Thai people, and they're doing kick-ass work.
Yeah.
So they're doing really nice things,
Yeah.
and they're enabling each other.
Right.
The startup community here is very supportive of each other.
Exactly.
So we're happy to introduce our product to them.
And so when you try to build an ecosystem, right? I mean, sharing is obviously one of the key components in any startup ecosystem, right? If you look at all of these successful ecosystems around the country, around the world, sharing is one of the main things. I mean, you learn from each other, and it's been great here. A lot of meetups, a lot of people are, basically teaching each other.
Yeah.
And I love it, about that. And
No, that's the great thing about this. Okay, so let's say spaces again, but just generally startup communities.
Yeah.
Where you share information because everyone wants to grow and wants each other to grow as well.
Yeah.
And that's
Has Thai regulation affected you guys in any way?
You mean the blockchain component?
Yeah, the blockchain component and the crypto.
No,
component.
because our rights and everything is held in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So a Thai regulation now is mostly limited towards financial institutions,
Right.
such as banks.
Right.
So they've been limited to a certain extent, but actually it seems like the Thai government is creating a supportive way of running ICOs.
So that's interesting.
It is. I think it is interesting, and it's the right move because if you limit these things, you're being left out.
Yeah.
This is like all the maybe I shouldn't say, but all the smart countries, they're working towards supporting these things to pick up the scraps from countries who say no. And these ICOs, these companies, they're going to exist. They might be incorporated in a different country, and these companies they don't care.
I mean, if you don't enable it here, then they're going to do it somewhere else.
Exactly,
And
it boosts the economy.
Yeah.
It creates better products, which is good for your citizens. So it's all pluses.
Yeah. How do you see? Now, we heard some stories like Kraken, pulling out from Japan.
Yeah.
Is that, do you know why they did that?
Cost cutting, I think.
Really?
Yeah. So Japan is becoming more strict with their regulations on crypto. So they're very supportive of it, but they want to see more paperwork essentially.
Yeah.
And for a company, it's not not difficult to pull out. Binance pulled out of Japan.
Yeah.
And but I don't think they were even incorporated there. They were just Japan sent them a note saying it's like, hey guys, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Technically you should be here, and then said, okay, so we'll incorporate someplace else. I mean, we don't care. It's just a bit of paperwork.
Now it's like the second biggest exchange.
Yeah.
Right.
But
After Bitfinex.
I think no, it's number one. I think Binance.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. And so Bitfinex is like number 2 now.
I'm not really sure where Bitfinex is, but honestly, I can't tell you. Top 10.
It's definitely either one or two.
One of the big Bs is there.
Yeah. And how do you see adaptation of crypto in Asia in general, or at least Southeast Asia?
Okay, so I think adaptation of crypto is going to take time, and I reckon that it's going to happen with utility tokens first.
Right.
So what you need is essentially you create a product that's so necessary and so awesome that people will kind of have to use it and want to use it. And then the crypto that's part of that product is going to be the first crypto that many people own here.
Right.
Right? Because buying Ethereum and buying Bitcoin and all these major coins, it can still be complicated.
Yeah.
And it's very much asset related, and asset related, it's something that really holds value. Whereas if you just have a token that you need for a certain program, then a lot more people will be inclined to have it lying around. So in case of Thailand, I think there's actually very, very fair chance that any coin, our token, any, is going to be the first token for a lot of people here, the majority, I think. Because once we reach critical mass here, a lot of people will own it.
Because here's an interesting question. Now, Thai economy, Thais are in general, huge into loyalty points. We talked about this in the last episode also. Can you convert all of these loyalty points into any tokens? Or is that?
Well, you don't.
No, not convert per se, but instead of if you kind of look at all of these different loyalty points, right, that are out there. Now 7-Eleven's got their loyalty points. These Big C, they've got their loyalty points, right? The problem is, you have to go to them to spend it, right? So what if there was an ecosystem? I'm just
sure.
talking
out loud.
Yeah, talking out loud. What if there was an ecosystem where everybody is issuing the same kind of loyalty point? You can accumulate it and spend it anywhere you want. Can that be done?
If you individually partner with all these companies, I don't see why not. I mean, the point of one of these loyalty points is actually that you come back, right? So the point of a loyalty point is not that you then go spend it someplace else. The point is that you spend it again in the shop, because then that generates the extra revenue for them. If you can make it attractive enough for the company.
Is it really? Yes. When you look at it from outside, you give the loyalty points and you're gonna, the automatic assumption is that you're gonna come back and spend it, on another product, right? But what if these points
become just so nice and you want to have them so badly, you go back for them anyway and then you trade something else later? No, it's definitely possible if you can partner with these companies. And 7-Eleven has partnerships with a lot of companies. They really help. They help a lot of people by allowing you to just give cash at 7-Eleven, then turns into credit for your app or whatever. 7-Eleven does that with loads of companies.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the ICO.
Sure.
When is it coming out, and where can anybody? How's the KYC process like? And
okay.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so essentially you can go to our website anytime and you can sign up for the token sale.
Okay.
And when you sign up for the token sale, you need to do a few tasks. So you need to do KYC, exactly. And essentially what it means is that we need a copy of your identification and you need to state where you live. So we have some questions to fill in. And then you can sign up for the token sale. The token sale goes live on the 28th of May. That's the public pre-sale, and that's when we start selling the tokens. If you get there sooner, you get bigger discounts. So we would suggest trying to be there on the 28th of May because you essentially get more coins or tokens for your money. And that's pre-sale, it runs from the 28th of May until the 17th of June, provided it doesn't sell out before that time. Right. And then there's a bit of a pause because then as a company, you get this extra capital, which you can then re-inject into marketing. So that's what that time frame is for. And then the second part, the main token sale, it runs from the 30th of June to the 30th of July. And then the pre-sale, because it's to generate funds, it actually has a lower amount of coins sold than the main token sale. These days, the whole structure is changing. 1 year ago, the main token sale was really the big thing.
Yeah.
But now everyone's trying to get the best deal on the pre-sale.
Yeah.
And so I recommend you go there too because the deal's better essentially.
There was one thing I wanted to talk about. You said utility coins, right? And
yeah.
So for somebody who doesn't know what utility coins are, what's the difference between a cryptocurrency and a utility coin?
Okay, so
utility token.
So a cryptocurrency is something that people more readily trade between the two of them because how do I say this? The coin is so established that it's easy to trade and it retains its value, so everyone is using it. And then these utility tokens, what it does, it allows you to use a certain platform.
Yeah.
Right? So, and otherwise you cannot use...
Like loyalty points or, settlements.
Kind of. So you need the utility tokens to be able to use that platform.
Right.
So that's the traditional model. If you don't have the token, you can't use what we offer.
Right.
Which is kind of evil, but it's the way it works. So in our case, we also introduced fiat, but then with our token, your service is cheaper. So if you have our token, that means that you get a 10% discount on everything. It's like, and the token allows you to advertise and these kind of things. So that was the main difference between a utility token. Utility token is for one specific platform, and then a general cryptocurrency can be other things.
What do you think 2000 is going to be like for crypto community in general?
This year?
This year.
Ooh, lots going to happen.
What do you think? Like, okay, let's name three main things that are going to happen this year for the crypto community.
Okay, so I think this year there's going to be a big boom in how much crypto is being bought. So I reckon that all the prices are going up. And I'm not a financial advisor, and please just maybe even forget I said this. I mean,
let's make a prediction.
Okay.
Let's make a prediction. What do you think Bitcoin is going to be by the end of the year? Let's take Bitcoin first.
Wow. I reckon that specifically the end of the year, I can't tell you for sure, but I'm very confident somewhere this year is going to be over 20. Okay. And then, but it fluctuates, can go up and down, but for sure this year we'll see 20. So that's my prediction. Yeah.
I was thinking more like, I think, I'm thinking about like at least 35. I don't know, I could be wrong.
No. It's very possible because
a lot of the TA, technical analysis, shows that it's hitting around 30, 40 range. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Look, I think that too, but it's a very optimistic thought. I mean, honestly, I think it's quite optimistic. Okay. I mean, it needs to 3-4x, and it's quite established already. But is it likely? If you to have me express it as a percentage, I'd say that the chance that it hits 35,000 plus is certainly 30%.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it means your asset is going to go up 300% this year. Yeah. And Bitcoin is a relatively safe hold to have.
Yeah.
So yay for crypto. And coming back to your question about what's going to happen this year. This year, hopefully, so many of these companies who ICO'd last year start to flourish. Okay. So now what I want to see is that innovation that people have been promising.
Well, see, this is the thing. No, we all know that 90% of the companies fail. Mm-hmm. Even if you raise VC money, it doesn't matter how you fund the company, they're going to fail. 90% of the companies do fail, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem is, the blockchain companies, when 90% of the blockchain companies fail, then people, go nuts about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then, blame ICOs and, blame, fundraising. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, I don't like it too, but you can understand. I mean, we're going to build this on the assumption they've done a good raise, right?
Yeah. So
that means they have a lot of money. So how can you fail in 1 year?
Yeah. And on top of that, you kind of have a market validation as well. Mm-hmm. Let's say you raise $1 million.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And you have a community and a fan base around it. Mm-hmm. That are open to kind of use the product or the service you're going to give.
I was having this discussion with someone else before, and when you hit the nail on the head, it's just, I guess, that a lot of people get lazy because they already made a big amount of money.
Yeah.
And then they just give themselves a nice salary, and maybe the passion was never really there.
Right.
right? So now this year that's going to be different because now people need to fight a lot harder in order to make a raise.
Yeah.
Last year was so easy. This year is way, way, way different. So that could be a reason people fail. It's just the fact that they never really wanted to go through fire to make it work. And that's what you need for any product. I mean, the world is so competitive.
Yeah.
The business environment is so competitive. And if you don't want to go through the absolute utter extent necessary in order to make it work, then there's a good chance someone else is going to do it.
Do you think, what do you think about the Singaporean ecosystem?
I'm not too familiar with it because I have my holding in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So it's difficult to say. What I know about the Singaporean ecosystem is that it's appeared to be quite forward-thinking. It's relatively easy to incorporate there, as well as a company.
Yes, yeah. Certain aspects of it is, yes. I think it's easier to incorporate. But in a way, like I think how I look at it is, I think the Singaporean startups and also Thai startups need to work together. And
why is that?
At least, no. Well, I mean, in a way, like, so. Let's break this down, right? When you say you're registered in Singapore, you're a Singaporean startup, people still tend to think like, oh, you have a certain level of credibility.
Correct.
And then at the same time, there are a lot of expats that are there, and the access to some of the foreign markets is still easier through Singapore, in a way I think. So collaboration and working together would obviously help the community in general for both sides, right?
A lot of Thai startups, they incorporate in Singapore.
In Singapore.
And then they work here. And it's for the exact reasons that you say. It's image. It's
right.
Which is necessary. Unfortunately, it's necessary if you want to attract traditional capital. Singapore has a very safe system in terms of banking and politics, and it's transparent and it's well respected. So they know if the company is incorporated there, it's an ecosystem they're familiar with, it makes it easy for them to invest. They've seen the documents 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Whereas they might not have invested in a Thai company before, and then suddenly it becomes a major hassle. They need to learn new stuff, which we cannot understand.
But at the same time, you have to appreciate everything these guys have done here in Thailand.
No, it's like Thailand's going to boom.
Yeah.
Thailand is booming already.
Yeah.
So no, the ecosystem here is amazing.
Yeah.
And government is working hard, but it's showing results. They're not just saying it, they're actually doing it.
Back in again about 5 years ago, one of the VCs, I cannot disclose the name of the firm. One of the VCs I met, what he said was, we just have a virtual office here in Singapore. But everybody is in Thailand, in Bangkok.
I reckon it's like that for most
companies.
Most companies in Southeast Asia, actually. And it's so it's quite laughable because that means you need to have a local director in Singapore.
Yeah,
that's necessary. You need to have an assistant, and you need to have this, and you need to have that. And it's just people in Singapore who assign themselves to do this job.
Yeah.
But it's necessary for the image, and then people just operate from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, whatever, where they want to have their company.
Kind of weird if you think about it, anyway. And I mean, it's definitely like this.
It's Delaware.
Yeah, it's Delaware.
Singapore is Delaware.
It's Delaware of
I think
it's the Delaware of Asia.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the Southeast Asian region itself. We're talking about 1/3 of the population of the world. Massive opportunity in terms of the, market size, in terms of the penetration. Because a lot of these Western markets are saturated anyway now, right?
The Western market's way different.
Yeah.
It's just.
What's the difference?
Well, I'll take it in terms of my product.
Right.
So when you launch an app like this, you want people who are eager to use the app. Indonesia, Thailand, the average app download is near to 10 a month. In my country, the Netherlands, and in some countries in Europe, it's down to 1 or 2 or 3. So they really download just the essentials.
Right.
which is cool. I consider my app to be an essential. And I reckon they'll most definitely use it. But for them, they need a lot of validation before they're even considering downloading it.
Downloading.
And here it's just like, oh, awesome, this is new, let's check it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the eagerness is there. It's like, okay, it's like, I haven't even heard it's good, I've never seen it before, but I'm going to check it out anyway.
Right.
Whereas in these other countries, they need to hear from a friend, like, hey, this is what you need to get.
Yeah. I think, oh wow, we've gone for about more than an hour, I think.
Sure.
And yeah, I think we need to wrap this up. And we can go on and on about this, cryptos, blockchains, and how this is going to revolutionize a lot of things over the upcoming, over the next couple of years.
Sure.
Anything you want to add? Anything you want to plug in, Dan?
Anything that I want to plug in? I guess I just like to thank people. not necessarily my parents, though them too, of course, but it's just the people in the ecosystem, people who are working hard to improve everything. It's like maybe a thank you for them would be good too, because they're working their ass off.
Right.
And they're doing fantastic things, and not just the people in blockchain, but just everyone here in Thailand and in the Netherlands, and everyone who I meet who's willing to help other people. So a big thank you for that, and I look forward. If I could add anything in, then I'd say that I'm excited for people that my product's coming out. We've been talking about startups the whole time. And now they're going to get something they can easily access legal, easily access accounting, easily access marketing, business development, talk to a blockchain expert, reach a software engineer. So to be able to introduce that, it's a big honor, I think. And, yeah.
Great, and yeah, best of luck.
Thank you for this amazing chat. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been great, and yeah, me too. I've been dying to talk about crypto for a long time, actually. Sure. And yeah, with that said, we're gonna wrap things up, everybody. Again, I want to thank our guys here at Spaces for sponsoring this, and they've just been great. And Rocketics guys, Viv, and the production team, and my executive producer Ta. Thank you so much, and. We'll see you next week with another founder on Outreach Asia.